morning, everybody. My name is Nikki Fried. I'm a Commissioner of Agriculture and gubernatorial candidate. I'm here today for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to the citizens of Kansas for coming out and voting strong to support a woman's right to choose. What is remarkable about the Kansas vote, it was the largest vote turnout since 2008. 20% of Republicans said no to taking out a right to privacy in their Constitution. And so what we saw in Kansas was a silent majority standing up for women's rights to choose. And that is what we are hearing on the ground here in the state of Florida. We know that Florida is a pro-choice state. 67% of Floridians did not want Roe overturned and did not want this egregious 15-week abortion ban here in the state of Florida. We know that abortion, that Roe v. Wade, is going to be on the ballot not only in November, but in this August primary. We have no choice but to stand up and to protect a woman's right to choose. And we're hearing this from Democrats and Republicans and independents. Even Republican women who may choose a different approach don't want to take away a woman's right to choose. Don't walk into the shoes of other women. And so Ron DeSantis, who has made it very clear that he wants an all-out abortion ban here in the state of Florida. And so we know that this election, this November, is going to be a referendum on him, a referendum on Roe, a referendum on our freedoms. And so as your next governor, I will make sure that I veto any piece of legislation that is going to infringe upon a woman's right to choose. I will also make sure that I declare a state of emergency on day one to call out and to not allow our doctors and not allow our women to hurt because of this egregious 15-week abortion ban. And most importantly, I've already started to put together a legal team to start drafting a constitutional amendment because unfortunately, this Florida Supreme Court that has judges that has been appointed by both Ron DeSantis and my primary opponent, Charlie Crist, have put the most extremist, anti-choice Supreme Court justices on our Florida Supreme Court. And so I am not going to wait to hear from our Florida Supreme Court that they have taken away our right to privacy. We are going to be proactive. We are going to make sure that we're gathering signatures and that we're going to do everything we can to get this on the 2024 ballot. So I'm asking for your help. If you want to engage in this fight, if you want to be part of what is going to be a movement here in the state of Florida, I'm asking you to volunteer for this campaign, volunteer to help us gather signatures. If you're an attorney out there and want to be engaged on the legal aspect of this, this is all hands on deck. And unfortunately, my primary opponent, even last night, was asked a question about abortion. And he's vague on his answers. He waffles on his position. He still says that today he is pro-life. This is not a time where we can be back and forth on a position. This is a time where we've got to stand up, be confident, have validation for our elected officials. We don't have the time to have another Brett Kavanaugh in the governor's office. So I'm asking our voters, stand up, stand united, make sure that we are putting a woman's right to choose on the ballot in August, in the ballot in November, and then we will get the constitutional amendment on the ballot in 2024. So thank you for everybody who is tuning in to this election, and let's try something new.
Why did you choose Fort Myers to have this press conference today?
So we were in Tampa yesterday, and so we first announced yesterday that I had already started to assemble a legal team. And so today we are here in Fort Myers because this issue impacts women and our supporters all across the state of Florida. So we're going to continue to elevate this message. And of course, Fort Myers, we know that the people here in this area are going to stand up for choice. We've seen it time and time again, and I will continue to come back to Fort Myers.
You also articulated the other night how important starting an insurance task force is on your first day. Why did you emphasize that? Why is that important to you?
Look, we know what's happening in our state. Our insurance industry is crumbling. our citizens can't afford their property insurance. They're getting dropped every single day. I talk to people every day that have even seen their premiums go through the roof, or they have seen themselves getting dropped and have no other choice. And so we don't start tackling this insurance industry and start tackling what's happening on the ground, we're going to be in a lot of trouble if we get hit by a hurricane this season or even next season. And unfortunately, the Republicans have sat back and have done nothing to help. They called a special session that was using our taxpayer dollars, and nothing got accomplished. We're not seeing a decreasing in our premiums. We're not seeing a more competitive marketplace. And unfortunately, we are not seeing leadership in Tallahassee that are actually going to make these changes.
During the course of the campaign, you always want to highlight the things that might be going wrong, the things that you might want to fix. What can you say about how well Florida might be doing in terms of its economy, the amount of people moving here? It's not necessarily the worst place to be right now, correct?
No, I mean, look, it is beautiful weather outside. People love coming to Florida. We've got pristine beaches. We've got Disney. We've got the cruise line industry. So many people love the fact that we have no income tax. This place is incredible. That's why I've lived here my entire life. My parents have lived here their entire lives. We have generation after generation after generation of people that have lived here and people that are moving here. But because people are moving here, we're seeing a pinch on the ones that are currently and have been living here for generations. We're seeing a fact that we have a housing crisis, an affordability crisis, that people can't afford the bare basics. And if we don't have leadership in Tallahassee and across our state that are going to take these things seriously, making sure that we're bringing the film industry back to our state, legalizing cannabis to diversify our economy, we now have to take an internal look at who are we as Floridians. How do we make sure that we're not divided? There's so much more that unites us than divides us, and we have to make sure that divisive politics gets taken away, and that we start to come together on issues like abortion rights. These are things that transcend partisan politics. It's time to start looking for those issues that can unite us and not divide us.
Do you feel like an underdog right now?
I have been an underdog my whole entire life. People never expected me to become student body president at the University of Florida, the first female after almost 2 decades. People definitely did not expect me to win Commissioner of Agriculture, first time that a female was ever elected commissioner, turning a seat and flipping a seat by almost 1 million votes. And I love this state and I will continue to fight for it, but we feel the momentum on the ground. We have created a movement all across the state. When I go into restaurants and I leave and I see a younger woman with her daughter, and she whispers to her daughter and says, "See her, she's running for governor." That I will take every single day of the week when I am traveling our state and women are coming up to me and asking to hug me and with tears in their eyes and saying, "Thank you, you are our only hope." That gives me inspiration every single day, and I have absolutely no doubt that on August 23rd that I will be the Democratic nominee.
What can you say about the next step for you in terms of coming up to August 23rd? Your opponent, your direct opponent in this primary, didn't really even mention you the other night. You weren't afraid to take some jabs at him. He didn't really fight back or bite back. What went through your mind as that was going on, and what's next?
Look, Charlie has been a Republican for most of his life. The issues that we are dealing with today, whether it is housing, whether it's the insurance industry, whether the fact that Roe v. Wade and our right to privacy here in the state of Florida is going to be overturned, the fact that black and brown men are still sitting in jails today because of laws that he passed. He sat in the Senate chambers holding chain games, wanting to put our prisoners back in chains. The people of our state need to be reminded of who he is. And the fact is that he has not reformed. He saw polls and changed his position because of polls. But what's in his heart has not changed. He was a Republican senator. He was a Republican commissioner of education, a Republican attorney general, a Republican governor. That is not what people of our state need. People of our state today need a fighter. And it is going to be part of my responsibility to make sure that the people of our state understand that they've got a clear choice. Somebody who's been a Democrat since she was 17 years old, who have been standing up and been a champion on these issues my whole entire life, or somebody who flips and flops on literally every single issue. There's so much on the line right now. Our democracy, our voting rights, our way of life here in the state of Florida. We cannot take the chances of putting somebody in that governor's office that we can't trust.
lastly, a lot of people say that Charlie's experience is a good thing that will help him out. So you're kind of identifying that as a potential disadvantage or even as a voter, something they should not harp upon.
His experience is as a Republican. My experience is as a statewide elected Democrat, running an agency of 4,600 employees, $1.9 billion agency, 19 divisions. For him to compare that I'm inexperienced as the only statewide elected Democrat, only member of the Florida cabinet that is in this race, shame on him. I will take my experience and as a small business owner, as a public defender, as a fighter for our homeowners during the foreclosure crisis, and now as an elected statewide member of the Florida cabinet, I will take my experience every single day over his.
Do you have a preferred goal or a hopeful timeline for the legislation that you feel most passionate about? Sorry, so I'm basically asking about a temporal goal or, like maybe a preferred timeline for the legislation you're most passionate about.
That I'm most passionate about? Well, first of all, we have our first legislative session starting in March. And so before March, I will be making sure that we get ourselves ready. There may be some special sessions that we have to call even before March to bring people, the legislature, back in. That's everything dealing with abortion. Calling a state of emergency on a women's reproductive health, state of emergency on housing, state of emergency on our climate crisis. There are some really serious issues that are impacting our state, and on day one, we're going to start taking action. And if we need to bring the legislature back in prior to their normal legislative session, that is something that we will be discussing on day one.
Have you heard anything about the major announcement that DeSantis is going to make today? You can take a minute to answer that, but a spokesperson teased that his announcement at 9:30 today is going to lead to a liberal media meltdown. Have you heard anything about that? It's all right.
It's all right.
You can wait. You can wait.
Getting aggravated.
It's all right. DeSantis' announcement, one of his spokesperson said that it's going to lead to a liberal media meltdown. Have you heard anything about that? Are you ready for that?
I certainly don't know. In our state, we've asked for a state of emergency when it comes to monkeypox. We're seeing an increase of those cases all across the state. I've asked for a state of emergency on gas, on housing, all of these things that are actually impacting the people of our state. And again, he's creating these fictitious wars that does no good besides his run for president of the United States, but not for the people of our state.
Anything else? I think we're good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.